we have freedom of choice to do or not to do. The question is, what is the obligation of a Jew? And the answer to that is, you must look into the Torah. The Torah is the guidebook of what the Jew is supposed to do and not supposed to do. And that makes some people very unpopular, because there are many people who don't do Jewish things and think that they are Jewish things. And there are many people who would like to believe that they are Jewish, but are not Jewish. And there are many people who would like to accept the values of the greater society and make them the values of the Jewish people. The problem is that when we dismiss the Torah, we become confused. We become confused as to what really is Jewish. For example, Jewish people are compassionate, and they care for the downtrodden and the hungry, the person that's the one that's being persecuted. We feel, we empathize with all the peoples of the world that have been persecuted by others. And because of that, there are many young people out there who empathize with the so-called Palestinians. Now stop for a moment. Instead of analyzing what is right and what is wrong, who is right and who is wrong, instead of looking at the source of things, you see people who appear to be suffering, and you attribute their suffering to another group of people. Well, let me give you an example. Supposing you saw 500,000 people living in tents, and they were living next to other people who were living in high-rise luxury apartments. And you would see that one group of people have high-definition television sets. They've got saunas in their bathrooms. They have all the luxuries that you've gotten used to. The other group of people cook on gas stoves, on single burner stoves, and have to put mosquito repellent to prevent the mosquitoes from biting them and eating them up alive, and are filled with mud and caked with their dirt. And you would say, it's horrible. The people that are living in these luxury apartments should invite those other people, those poor tent-dwelling people in. But if I told you that those tent dwellers are hunters and it's deer season, and they choose to live in the wild, and then it all changes. It's got nothing to do with circumstances, it's got to do with choices. Now, there are choices that people make. If I decide to attack you, and in the process you defend yourself, and as a result of that, things happen. You didn't attack me, I attacked you. But I'm living in a hovel and you're living in the nice house because you built the nice house from scratch. So if you looked at it, you'd have compassion on the attacker and not on the victim. And just as people in America, especially the Jewish people who have compassion for the murderers, for those who want to kill others, it's misplaced compassion, so too a Jew who takes the natural feelings and the natural sensitivities that he's been endowed with and perverts it because he does not understand or know what it is that is a Jewish ideology. We all have compassion for young people. We all ache over young people's decisions that are harmful to them. We wish to prevent any kind of pain and suffering that young people, especially children, will have. But when a girl gets pregnant, most of the time it's by her own choosing, by behavior that she could have prevented. Occasionally, it's forced. But most of the time, the things that happen in the outside world are by people's choices. The compassion upon the girl who chooses badly is also a horrible choice for the fetus that is forming within her body. And you must balance the compassion with the knowledge that this was chosen behavior and that there is a live creature that has been developing within this person. Now the Torah permits certain times for abortion, up to 40 days, up till the time that the child is formed. But once the child begins to form, it's given a status. It has a right to its own existence. And the only time the child, the fetus, loses that right to its own existence after 40 days is when the mother's life is in danger. Clearly, we Jews are compassionate. But compassion cannot be misplaced. And just as our compassion cannot be misplaced, our faith cannot be misplaced, and our rules cannot be perverted. Just as people in this country demand that there be a just and fair way to bring people in from the outside to make them American citizens, so too there is a judicious system which governs how people become Jewish. And there is a system and a wisdom that governs what it is to be Jewish and what a person must do to be a good Jew. Those values are not my values. Those values are the values that God has placed. And to quote Rambam, to quote Maimonides, the greatness of one's merit and the effects of one's sins can only be evaluated by God himself. And so no one judges, no one is in the position of judging another. But there are standards, and there are things that we must learn that are Jewish values. And it's not up to our desire or to the political parties in this world or to writers of democratic thought that determine what it is that a Jew should believe and what are the principles by which we shall live.